Respect is something that doesn't come easily or automatically in life. In a world that often glorifies immediate gratification and shallow appearances, true respect, whether in our personal relationships, careers, or even our self-respect, must be earned through deliberate actions, discipline, and consistent effort. This is a principle that the Stoics understood well, and it is one that remains timeless. Respect, in their view, is not a gift from others but something we cultivate through the choices we make each day, the way we engage with challenges, and the way we navigate adversity. If you want respect, it is important to know that it isn't about being the loudest in the room, the one with the most power, or the one who can speak the best. True respect is forged through your actions, your integrity, and your ability to remain steadfast and disciplined in the face of life's challenges. Through the wisdom of great philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, we are reminded that each decision we make shapes our character and our reputation. Today, we are going to explore 6 habits that could be silently eroding the respect you deserve, and how you can eliminate them to unlock a life filled with purpose, honor, and true self-respect. Let us take a moment to reflect. Are you ready to take responsibility for your life, eliminate these destructive habits, and embrace the path of Stoic wisdom? If you're ready to take your life to the next level, to gain respect not just from others, but from yourself, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's dive in. 1. Making excuses. Excuses are often seen as a quick way to avoid discomfort, but they can also become a crutch that hinders our growth and integrity. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that we have no control over external events, but we always have control over our responses to them. When we make excuses, we relinquish the control. We effectively tell ourselves that we are victims of circumstances, which is the opposite of a Stoic mindset. Marcus Aurelius believed that by accepting the reality of the world and taking responsibility for our own actions, we gain strength and freedom. There was a time in my life when I was full of excuses. I blamed my job, my upbringing, my circumstances, anything that allowed me to avoid confronting my own shortcomings. It wasn't until a major turning point in my life that I began to see the destructive nature of making excuses. I had a personal project I wanted to complete, but every day I told myself I didn't have time, didn't have the resources, or wasn't good enough. That's when I remembered the Stoic principle. The obstacle is the way. I realized that each excuse I made was simply another obstacle I was putting in my own path. So, I made a decision. No more excuses. I began to take small, consistent actions every day to push through my procrastination and self-doubt. The result? I not only finished the project but also gained a newfound sense of pride and respect for myself. I stopped hiding behind excuses and started taking ownership. Those around me also began to see me in a different light. No longer was I the person who made excuses, I was the one who took action. My respect, both from others and for myself, grew exponentially. Making excuses had kept me stagnant. Taking responsibility propelled me forward. To stop making excuses, start by asking yourself, what can I do right now to change the situation? Shift your focus from what's beyond your control to what you can actively change today. This simple shift can transform your life and your relationships. 2. Being lazy. Laziness, often disguised as taking a break or relaxing, is one of the most dangerous habits we can indulge in, as it prevents us from ever reaching our true potential. The Stoics held that we should engage with the world through action, through purposeful, intentional effort. Every day is an opportunity to become better, to improve ourselves, and to move closer to living a virtuous life. In contrast, laziness is a form of neglecting that potential and surrendering to inertia. We've all encountered moments when laziness takes hold, when our minds convince us that resting just a little longer will lead to a greater sense of peace. However, that peace is fleeting. The Stoics recognized that our sense of fulfillment comes from taking action, making decisions, pursuing excellence, and working towards something meaningful. I've certainly struggled with laziness in my life. I remember a period when I would put off important tasks, telling myself, I'll start tomorrow, or I need to feel more inspired first. The problem was, I was waiting for inspiration to strike rather than creating the conditions for it. It was a form of procrastination dressed as self-care. That's when I turned to a piece of Stoic wisdom. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take action now, even if it's imperfect. I began to break my tasks into small, manageable chunks. I didn't wait until I felt ready, I just started. That shift in mindset was incredibly powerful. Every small action I took built momentum and broke the cycle of laziness. Not only did I see tangible progress in my work, but I also developed a deeper sense of self-respect. Laziness may seem comfortable in the moment, but it keeps us from becoming the person we could be. To combat laziness, stop waiting for motivation. Start small, take one step at a time, and let consistency lead you to excellence. Your future self will thank you. 3. Reacting emotionally. One of the most significant obstacles to gaining respect is the inability to manage our emotions. When we react impulsively, governed by our feelings of anger, frustration, or fear, we lose control, and others see this lack of control. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, understood that emotions are powerful forces that must be harnessed, not followed blindly. Emotional reactions come from our attachment to external outcomes and our inability to accept things as they are. True power comes from the ability to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. I recall an incident years ago in which I allowed my anger to dictate my actions. It was a professional situation where I felt wronged by a colleague. Without thinking, I lashed out in frustration, expressing my anger in a way that was not constructive. While I felt better momentarily, the damage to my reputation was lasting. People began to question my ability to handle pressure, and that's when I realized something important. My emotional reaction had cost me the respect of those around me. Following that incident, I turned to the Stoic teachings for guidance. I adopted the practice of pausing before reacting. Instead of immediately speaking or acting out of anger, I took a deep breath and asked myself, how can I respond with reason and calm? Over time, this practice helped me regain control over my emotions and, more importantly, regain respect in both my professional and personal relationships. People began to see me as someone who could be trusted with difficult situations, someone who was reliable and composed. Mastering emotional responses requires practice, patience, and mindfulness. Begin by giving yourself the space to reflect before responding. This simple act will dramatically enhance your ability to earn and maintain respect. 4. Avoiding responsibility. Avoiding responsibility is one of the quickest ways to lose respect, both from others and from ourselves. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from accepting responsibility for everything in our lives, our actions, our reactions, and even our mistakes. When we avoid taking responsibility, we give up our power to shape our lives and make decisions based on integrity. I remember a time when I would deflect blame for failures, pointing fingers at external circumstances or other people. It was easier to blame the system, my environment, or someone else than to confront my own role in the situation. But over time, I noticed that this habit made me feel more powerless. I wasn't learning from my mistakes, and I wasn't growing. I realized that true respect comes not from avoiding blame but from owning it and learning from it. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control the world around us, but we can control how we respond to it. When we take responsibility, we regain our agency and our strength. We stop being victims of our circumstances and start becoming active participants in our own lives. To earn respect, we must take ownership of our choices and actions, both the successes and the failures. By doing so, we demonstrate maturity, integrity, and self-awareness, qualities that are respected by others and, more importantly, by ourselves. 5. Complaining. Complaining is a passive form of resistance to reality. It is a habit that traps us in negativity, focusing only on what is wrong rather than what we can change. I used to complain about everything: the weather, my job, my circumstances, anything that was outside my control. It felt good in the moment, as it was a way to release tension. But in reality, it was just an escape from facing what was truly important: the need to act. There was a period when I worked in a challenging job with difficult colleagues. I spent more time venting about the issues than finding solutions. Complaining became a routine part of my daily life. But one day, I realized that I wasn't changing anything by complaining. I was simply adding to the negativity. I decided to shift my mindset. Instead of complaining, I began to ask myself, what can I do to improve this situation? I began to take responsibility for my actions and my response to my environment, focusing on constructive actions rather than focusing on the problems. The shift from complaining to action was liberating. It didn't change everything overnight, but it changed how I viewed the world and my role within it. People began to notice my change in attitude, and over time, my relationships improved. Complaining may offer temporary relief, but it ultimately keeps us stuck in a cycle of negativity. If you want to build respect, stop complaining and start seeking solutions. 6. Living without purpose. Living without purpose is like drifting aimlessly through life. Without a clear direction, we become passive observers, reacting to events rather than shaping them. The Stoics understood that purpose comes from within. It's not something we find externally, but something we cultivate by aligning our actions with our deepest values. When I was chasing external success early in my career, promotions, recognition, and the approval of others, I thought that would bring me fulfillment. But despite achieving all these things, I felt a persistent emptiness. I was living without purpose, focusing more on outward achievements than on what truly mattered to me. The Stoics teach that true purpose comes from living in accordance with virtue and reason. I realized that fulfillment isn't about what others think of us, but about living in line with our values. The moment I shifted my focus to living with intention, I found meaning not just in the big goals, but in every action aligned with my core beliefs. To live with purpose is to stop reacting to life and start shaping it with conscious, deliberate choices. Reflect on your values and ask, what do I stand for? What is my legacy? Purpose doesn't appear on its own. It's something we create by living each day with clarity and conviction. Respect is not something that can be demanded. It is something that must be earned through the way we live and the choices we make. If you've been trapped in any of these 6 habits, it's time to change. The Stoic principles provide a pathway to transformation, helping you break free from excuses, laziness, emotional reactivity, and more. You have the power to shape your life, your reputation, and the respect you earn. If you're ready to live a life of purpose, discipline, and self-control, make sure to subscribe and join us at Stoic Thrive. Hit the bell to receive practical wisdom that will help you unlock your true potential and lead with integrity. Your journey to respect starts today. What small action will you take to begin your transformation? Let's thrive together.